first budget workshop for February 4th, 2019. Are we recording?
Yes.
Excellent. First presentation, Dan Stanton. Amy, you want to come up? You can, or not. Yeah, that's fine. Since you're here.
I'm on.
Thank you.
That's true.
Just a little background for you gentlemen.
You still have the chair?
Yes. Let's put this in here.
That's two, Charlie.
It's in two.
It's in two, it's 411. Section two.
I don't know, that's sure.
411.
Which is right.
Which
one, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. You got it, Jay? Not yet. What's your code? It's 411. Thank you. 300. Got it. Hopefully you pay.
Yes, please.
I'll take it.
I thought I gave you.
Wow,
I call it,
Amy.
which is so needy, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What does this mean, persons in office?
That's the amount of traffic that we have, Charlie.
Oh,
Foot traffic.
visitors.
Those are the agencies that we deal with on almost a day-to-day basis. This is where we have to refer people to. What we tried to do is to break out for you the actual workload that we perform in the office and the number of required inspections there are for all of the different types of permits that we issue. All right, and this list obviously is irrespective of quote-unquote any type of emergency that arises almost on a daily basis at one point in time or another. I think the best way for us to describe how the building department operates from 8:30 to 4:30 every day is I would equate it to triage. Everybody has a self-induced emergency or a special need or a special problem, or so it seems. Even those individuals that are quote-unquote the professional aspect of it. So, number of permits on a year-to-year basis don't necessarily reflect the amount of work that goes into it. For this next year, we obviously have two large developments that we'll be looking at. One is the Calamar 122 unit 55 and older development that's been stalled for months now.
Do you expect, Rand, that will move forward?
Every indication I have from them, which is minimal at this point in time, Andy, is that their intention is to proceed. And of course, the other one will be clearing wetlands next week. We discussed it today in the staff meeting, and that is the Sardelli development. That will be somewhere in the vicinity of 13.5 acres of rooftop and lake. So by the time we're done with that, with the actual trucking facility and packing facility, the maintenance garage, the office building and the fueling depot will be somewhere around, I think 240 to 250,000 square feet of space.
Expected start date for that, do you have any deal?
No, but from what I understand right now, the plans have been developed, so they're.
They have been?
They have been developed, and what they are trying to do right now is to get past all of the regulatory hurdles on a local basis. And they've not, there again, I've had no discussion with them, Andy, so this is all speculation, but I would well imagine that as soon as that's done, they're prepared to submit plans, and obviously, mild winter that we've had have not prevented anybody from the continuation of their work. We've been busy all winter with the installation of solar permits on roofs, roofing permits, foundations have been going in. If the selectmen haven't at this point in time, I would recommend that you take a ride out on Eastern Middle Road and take a look at the development that's underway out there. There are 9 structures standing right now. I believe 4 of which have received their certificates of occupancies. Now,
There are a couple of new foundations also.
that's correct. And that last spring, we didn't have a foundation in the ground. So that's moved along quickly. It's my understanding, I was told by his project manager out at that particular development today that he is looking at 1 or 2 other sites in East Windsor for future development. The real story, as far as I'm concerned, if I don't need it, I don't ask for it.
The Kalmar, I don't think that's going to go forward yet. We had one of the contractors for them came before us to tell us about, he's owed an awful lot of money and is not getting paid along with the rest of the contractors. And that was, I don't know, a month or more ago. And that's not a good sign that it's going to move forward. We have some other...
Well, it isn't, Charlie, but quite honestly, that's not the town's business.
No,
Okay?
it's not the town's business, but the circumstances that the man gave to us doesn't say that that's a project that's going to move very fast, if at all.
Well, I think...
Unless you, I'm trying to find out if you know something different than what that is.
I don't. This company has not communicated well, and they're under no obligation to
No?
communicate with us. The only obligation they have to us is to, as they move forward with the work that has been permitted and has been approved, is to call for those timely and regular inspections. And that's where we're at with them. If they need more time to get their financial house in order, that's their business, certainly not mine.
Oh, it's true.
I think that from what I've put together in terms of my research, I think probably it's growing pains for a company that's transitioning from one level of contracting to a completely different level. I do know that they've moved forward with various land acquisitions in different states. So they are on the move, and sometimes things get lost in translation.
They also have a project similar to ours that has been planned or is being built in Manchester, Connecticut. Is that not right?
That is not right.
That
Is not right. They dropped off a set of prints at the Manchester building office without an application, without the application fee, and there's been no contact.
So there's nothing going on
with the city of Manchester. I'm in regular contact with Manchester regarding any type of movement with this company and their development.
So as far as you know, we are the sole town they are building here in Connecticut, is that it?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. To the absolute best of my knowledge. I would tell you that we have needed additional help for years. It hasn't ever come. I don't know how much better I can express to this board or even to the Board of Finance that need. And if it doesn't come, then I'm going to have to take a complete reassessment of the building department and make a determination of basically what gets left behind. And it's going to be a matter of priority, because we can't continue in the fashion that we're moving forward in right now. not at the pace.
In what sense, Randy?
Well, I know different building departments that, in this state, have taken measures to provide them with the time that they need to complete necessary duties, from plan reviews to filing, to all the necessary paperwork from the reports that have to be filed in a timely fashion. And they have limited public access to those offices at certain times, where they will only accept permit applications at very specific times.
Okay.
And the rest of the time,
Because of limitations in manpower?
correct. Yeah. The town has grown. In the 17 years that I've been in that office, this town has grown dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I had more staff 15 years ago in the building department than I did.
Did you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're asking for to change a part-time person into a full-time?
I am. And that full-time person stays in the office. I'm also asking next year for the additional $20,000 for the part-time inspector, contracted inspector that I have. I am waiting right now on a proposed contract from the town of Bolton to actually do a shared services situation, so that that individual would actually be an employee of the town of Bolton. The town of East Windsor would actually provide the monies to the town of Bolton based on an hourly rate and the number of hours worked. At this point in time, 20,000 as we cost it out would provide me basically with just under 2 days worth of inspection services. If I need it, I need it.
Two days a week.
Correct, for part-time inspection.
Yeah, and that would handle, too, vacation time and things like that.
Well, it would certainly lessen the backlog of work by not having someone here at all.
And Rand, where does that show up in your budget sheet?
Under professional services.
Okay, that's at 20K?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Is that the only thing that's involved in that 20K?
Yes, yeah,
And that would be a contracted per diem arrangement?
yes, yeah. And as I said, when I injured my foot earlier this year, we kind of had an emergency where we had to bring somebody in. I was 12 weeks unable to be out in the field and work, and I brought the inspector, Mr. Heckman, in, and I think that was one full day and 2 partial days. We brought him in to try to help take care of any type of backlog of emergency. I was able to spend time in the office, and we began to get caught up. He's been gone since September. And
So that's a continuation of what you have today?
correct, but now, and to be very clear, the 20,000 that was originally allocated was allocated with the intention of providing that part-time inspector specifically for Calamar.
Yep.
As it happened, my injury forced us into a position where we had to have somebody here that could go out and do the field work. And thank goodness that money was in there. Otherwise, I mean, I would hope that it would have come and been forthcoming from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. But the point is, if we hadn't tried to prepare for Calamar, I would have had the availability of that individual in place. As it is, we spent just over $6,000 on 12 weeks of services, and the remainder of that money is untouched in our budget right now, and that's in anticipation of Calamar starting up in the spring.
Okay.
U-Permit is the software,
Correct.
and I don't think there's anybody in charge of it. It seems to be two departments seem to be key departments in running a U-Permit. That's your department, building and planning and zoning. They both, I know that planning and zoning has to sign, well, they all have to sign up before you can give a CO.
We do.
But I think there's been some thought to maybe replacing the system or upgrading the system.
I attended a seminar, I say a seminar, a presentation in Enfield of either Tuesday or Wednesday of last week on an integrated system, cloud-based, and I mentioned in our staff meeting today, our land use staff meeting today, that I would be coming into your office and seeing if there was any interest from the town to have this individual come in and put on a presentation for the department heads. I was invited up there by Lori Wooden, our previous town planner, and by the building official, who I have a very good working relationship with out of Enfield. And
Is that the software they use, or is the one they're looking at too?
this is the one that Enfield is looking at. From everything I've been told, based on view permits, not only lack of support, but their lack of continuation with this program after next January. The program will no longer be supported on any platform. And they are urging current view permit individuals to purchase into their upgraded viewpoint system. I would not recommend it based on the arduous nature of view permit in and of itself. It promised so much to this community, and then it fell flat on its face because they couldn't follow through with their promises, nor did they.
What are some examples of what those promises were that didn't
One of
work?
those promises, Charlie, was the fact that we would be able to set up for online payment and online permitting. And then after we received after we entered into the contract, they came back and said, oh, by the way, no, we have entered into an exclusive arrangement with PayPal. And the town, at the president, or I should say the administration that was currently in place, was reluctant to go PayPal because of the cost to the applicants and the taxpayers. Every PayPal transaction comes with an added cost by the user, and there are some out there that don't. So there was reluctance on that part. That was one of the things. We were also told that the transition time and the support from view permit and the training from view permit would be extensive, and it was not. We, in the building department, actually took over 6 months on what we call the private side, where we had the program set up, and we worked with it daily in our office, running mock scenarios and entering mock permits, okay, in order to get on board, and we were the first department to be prepared and ready to go with view permit when it was time for us to launch. Quite honestly, I've watched every other department flounder in trying to figure out and navigate the program. Now, I don't know if it's their lack of will, I don't know if it's their interest, I just know that it has created a scenario, particularly for our department, where if you do not attend to that program almost on a daily basis, it creates an incredible backlog.
Are there user towns that are utilizing that system?
There are, and
Do you have any?
the support staff that I've spoken with in these towns, I have a full list of them in my office, Andy. They're almost equally dissatisfied with this program.
Is the program you're referring to in your budget?
I'm sorry?
Is the program you're referring to in your budget?
No, it doesn't exist in my budget at all.
Okay. Can I ask a couple budget-related questions?
Certainly.
First, you referenced the increase in the size of the town in the last 15 years. Are you basing that on grand list growth, population growth? What's your benchmark there to suggest?
Every building permit that we issue is a matter of growth for this community. Whether it's a single-family residential home, a garage, a commercial structure, that is positive growth for this community.
Okay, so it's permits issued that your benchmark?
Absolutely.
And how many did we issue 15 years ago?
How many?
You said.
I don't know, Jay.
Well, I'm just trying to get a sense of, I'm trying to quantify.
I would say 15 years ago, if we took a look back in one of our town reports, all of that information is in those town reports. So we can go back 25 years and find all that quantifiable information.
Now, you're basing it on permits? Did I understand that?
That's the benchmark that he
It's not
suggested.
just,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
let's
I
put it
mean,
this way.
The Calamar is like one permit, and it's huge.
Mhm.
So
Walmart was one permit.
Okay, so what's a better benchmark then? Is Grand
Casino's
List
gonna
growth?
be one permit.
I'm just trying to,
I would say yes, the grand list growth would be a better benchmark, but there's a, now I think about grand list growth if you talk about like where I live in Newbury Village, that, you know, each unit might be, grows the grand list by 210,000 or something.
I think you're talking apples and oranges here.
Yeah,
You know, that he's talking about the work requirements that he has. You have 1,000 permits, you have to look at those, you have to make decisions, then you have to do the inspections on the 1,000 things that were taken out, whereas, you know, the value of the building is $10 million, you know, and that's part of the grand list that goes up, that's not requiring as much, in my mind, man hours of work to go take care of that compared to all of these other ones.
well, that's what I'm saying. The more the building's worth, the more work it is to inspect it as it's being built.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think there's one or the other.
And when you get through then, I want to go back to this clerical person because,
yeah, that's where I'm going next.
okay, well, can I just finish? I wanted to say that if we do get that clerical person, then they would they kind of like spearhead the permit process? No.
No,
We
they
do.
would be support personnel, counter personnel. Let me put it to you this way. There are times in my office, I have someone on my line. We have 2 other lines in the office that are busy and ringing. We'll have 3 to 5 people standing at the counter, sometimes out the door. Okay, it isn't just about these permits, because there are other things. They come up, whether it's a meeting like this to prepare for, whether it's a land use staff meeting, whether it's a Route 5 advisory committee meeting. There are any number of different things that impact our department. It might be a call from North Central Health District. It could be the scenario that we faced last week, which was the condemnation of a home and the relocation of the tenants. Now, all of that has to be prepared in a very prescriptive, legal manner in order to protect this town.
Well, I always said it, Brandon, if no one person is in charge of something, then no one's in charge. And I don't see anybody in charge of view permits, except maybe me. And
You're the guy.
well, if that's the case, then I kind of need staff to do that. Because you're right, it takes a lot of staff. And also somebody would have to, in my department, it would have to become an expert in the view permit. And what I'll say too about view permit is I have been trying to work at it. And it does pretty well on an individual property. So if you have an individual property, you want to know if the 8 permits or whatever is required, the fire person has signed off, the health department signed off, the sewer department signed off, the planning and zoning is signed off, the building department is signed off. You have to put in that address and go through and look at each check mark to see what it is. Now, if you can't produce a report that would say, give me a list of all the ones that are waiting for CO, that you can't get that list. It has to be done individually. So there's very poor reporting, one thing I don't know.
Yes.
So, something to think about. Maybe.
Here's just a question, and I'm going to put it right out here for this board. I've watched Public Works in the last couple of years bring on 2 brand new employees, full-time. I've watched Park and Rec bring on brand new employees. What was the criteria? Or what means did this board ask from them to provide backup to add these new employees? I'd like to just, all I'm saying is I just want to be treated fairly like everybody else. And that is, all I'm asking this board to tell me is exactly what you want for information from me in order for me to get what I feel that department needs. It's not for me, it's for this town. So if this board can guide me and help me, I'm all ears.
I think, Rand, that your department is really important to the town from a growth standpoint. You are an interface with any new resident, be it a builder who's building private homes or a builder who's going to build Calamar. You're the primary interface for a long, long time. The better you perform, the better the town has performed. I don't know what the right parameter is. Jason asked, what is the measurement that you made to say that you issue many more, there's much more work today than there was 15 years ago. Charlie brings up the fact that it's probably not just the number of permits you issue, and it's probably not, and that's for sure. It's some mix of the value of the thing. Calamar is clearly a much more difficult project for you. It is a project that, and Sardelli is a project we want to shine on. We don't want a potential, not potential, but a new resident of our town in the commercial area to say East Windsor's a bad town to do business with. So is there some way that you could quantify that for us without breaking your butt? I'm just looking for something, and the good thing about that is going forward, it would eliminate a lot of this baloney talk. My personal opinion is that you should have the right amount of manpower to cover the work you do adequately and to make us look good. But it's very hard for me to get my hands around how do I measure what it is. For example, you've got into your consideration Calamar for this coming year. I know if Calamar doesn't happen, you're not going to spend the money, but so there's not a question about whether you're going to take it, store nuts for the winter. That's not the question at all. But it would make it clearer to me if there, with all your insight into your department and what it takes to do jobs, if you could come up with some kind of a parameter that says that this is the formula for why I need manpower, and it's a mix of the value of projects and the number of projects and whatever else.
I don't know how quantifiable it can be, though.
Okay, look, so we got off on this tangent here because you made a comment about the workload has increased in 15 years. I was just asking, by what do you measure that? I didn't mean, that wasn't an assault or a criticism or anything.
No, I get
and I'm
it.
sorry if it's cost us the last 10 minutes. But pertaining to your budget, can you explain the salary line? It looks to me like if you back out the part-time salary increase that you're moving from part-time into full-time, that there still is represented a 13% increase. Is that what's driving that 13% increase?
Part-time to full-time.
Yes, so part-time to full-time.
On the administrative end of things. And I think you'll find that it is the additional $20,000 that's coming in.
No, it's a different line item, Rand. So,
I'll tell you, so he's taking out his part-time person. Right now, he has a less than 19-hour-a-week person.
Yep.
He's removing that and swapping it with a 35-hour full-time body.
what's the part-time hourly rate? I'm sorry,
It's the same rate.
What's the number of hours that
No,
the part-timer
I
does?
think the rate is it the same rate, the 1660?
Yeah, the 1683 going to
Yeah,
1707.
It's the lowest tier.
Yeah,
It's the lowest tier.
not the rate, the number of hours that the part-timer is working.
On 19.
19.
So she's
Okay.
going from 19 to 35, which is
Yes.
less than double.
Right.
Nonetheless, the total salary line,
Is going from 16 and change to 33, right? The increase on the full-time line is going up 33.
so let me explain what I did here, and you can tell me where my math is wrong.
Okay?
I took the 165 number, and I backed out the 16 number. The 165, 155 is the new full-time request. I backed out the part-time person, and then I divided that number, which is like 149, by 131, and I got a 13% increase. So I'm just checking the math, just to make sure that, first of all, I suck at math, and I'm prepared for that. But I wanted to make sure that there wasn't an arithmetic error in there.
There's not. I don't know, your salary full-time doesn't say it's going up $33,000 and the part-time's coming down 16?
It does.
Okay, so that's the same body.
Yep.
So basically, he's increasing somewhere around $16,000 to take the person from 19 hours to 35.
17,261, isn't it? That's going to be increasing?
Okay, that makes sense. 131,
Does that make sense?
355.
Sure it is.
That's what's on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Which is
where.
11.63, but it's really no increases because every union is out of contract. So it's no increases. It's literally just taking out a part-time person and putting in a full-time person. Salary only, though.
So what,
If you
So-
take a look at the difference, Jay, between the 148,439, which was fiscal year 19 that was adopted, I'm requesting 165,700 for the fiscal year 20.
mhm.
We're looking at about a 10.5% increase according to my calculations.
Well, it's
10.5
11.63.
in that line.
Okay. And there are no, so the 11.63% increase only represents the halftime body?
Yes.
Okay.
There are no other wage increases because both unions in that department are out of contract.
Got it. That part-time to full-time person, what are their responsibilities?
Set my schedule every day.
Yeah,
All right, from our appointment calendars. Okay, do all the filing, get files for whether it's attorneys, whether it is appraisers.
100% office work.
Pardon me?
They're 100%.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And what percentage of your time is office work versus in the field?
I'm in my office about, I'm gonna say 32 to 35% of the time.
Okay, so 1/3.
And I could stand a little more time in the office because of the amount of work that I need to do.
By increasing the part-time person to a full-time person, what does that do in terms of taking work off your plate?
No, okay.
Nothing.
It helps the other person in the
It
office.
does.
Okay.
Is any of that work that Jenny now does?
Oh, Ginny is, if Ginny walked out of my door tomorrow morning, I would need two to replace her. This is a woman that is dedicated to her job, to this town.
No, but would this new person, full-time person, would that unload Jenny some?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's still an awful lot of work. There's just, and I short of someone seeing it, like I said, it's triage. You don't know when the next phone call is going to be the explosion of the day. And most of the time, you have to react to it. You don't have a choice.
And what if you, the Calamar thing, we don't have anything hard there at this moment, and I know what you're saying. What if you, rather than making that person full-time, to add another part-time person that would work 15 to 19 hours to be able to bring them on as a temporary until such time that, it's deemed necessary that you're going to need them forever? I just think you might get more bang for your buck by doing that.
Well, you may, Charlie. I understand and I anticipated that perspective. And I will tell you there's a certain degree of continuity that's going to be lost. Okay,
I agree with
in regards to having two part-time people. And that the new part-time person coming on still requires the same amount of training as a full-time person. Quite honestly, for someone to come in to their part-time or full-time, you're at least a full year to learn what you need to learn, and then another year to polish it up and get it where it needs to be. We deal with a lack of systems and codes and permits and scenarios, everything from the Department of Consumer Protection to the Department of Insurance.
Well, I understand. I don't doubt any of that. But in terms of having,
I'll take what I can get, how's that?
yeah, It's giving you more hours to do that by having 2 part-time people.
Does that give you more flexibility, having 2 part-time people to pick up
No.
greater load?
Anytime you deal with, and you gentlemen understand this, anytime you deal with staff, you deal with any different types and multitudes of scenarios that come with people.
They're all fun, aren't they?
Aren't they? If there's really any specific information, what we've tried to do with what I hand you gentlemen tonight, if you take a look down through the typical amount of inspections that are required by just the building department to close out these permits, you can see, I'm having, even though our current permitting software doesn't easily allow me to go back in, I'm having staff go back in at the next available time so that I can get a handle on how many open permits that we have that are unclosed. I can tell you that a number of different departments haven't closed out a large number of permits, and that causes a backlog in our department. And I can tell you that the permittee's primary responsibility is to call my office for the final inspections. But to leave those permits left open and hanging out in the wind without a nudge or a pleasant reminder exposes those people to a certain degree of risk and deniability by their insurance companies. So that is one of the things that I would like to be able to accomplish in the next couple of years. It's nothing you can bite into in huge bites. You have to take it incrementally and work your way through it.
Question I have, this person for the 20,000 that you have in here, that's for the person from Bolton?
That's correct. That's for a licensed inspector, Charlie.
Okay. Why would we put that under professional services and not as an employee?
Because we're not gonna employ them. They're gonna employ them and we're gonna pay them.
Yeah, they're a contractor.
The same situation we have this year. And that was at really the request of the Board of Finance last year, when we were adding, because then we were only buying services when we need them. Because if you buy an employee and they're gonna work 19 hours a week, they're gonna work 19 hours a week whether Calamar goes on or not.
Yeah.
Right? So the intent of the Board of Finance was not to add the body, but to hire the services out. Rand was able to work a deal with Bolton to get a fully licensed person at a reasonable rate for that extra coverage so that we would only use him when we needed him.
Just in terms of the employee count here, it's really a part-time add in there. You know, it's really another, it's 4 people, right? Not that that means anything either way.
And you have access to the same fellow?
I'm sorry?
You have access to the same fellow from Bolton?
Yes.
Going forward?
Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he, within the next month, will go and sit for his full building official's license. He's an assistant. He has what's called his ADO license right now. But I will tell you, I do like the arrangement in terms of that contracted service. I think it allows this town a great deal of flexibility in regards to that particular line item in the budget.
And it works for both.
In case you fall down.
No, maybe I could.
The other question I had was on supplies and equipment. You were asking for 4,000, and you did last year, but yet very little of that was spent in either one of the years. So,
And primarily, we put that in so that if we do have a printer or a couple of printers go down, if I find myself where I need to order new two-part, like my inspection forms, various things that we use throughout the year, but I'm going to go back to my rule. And in my office, if we don't need it, we don't spend it. I put it in so that as a matter of contingency, if we need it, we're not left waiting together.
If you look at the last 2 years, I think one year you spent $40, the other year you spent $90 or something like that out of 4,000.
It was 413 3 years ago, 1140, and 690. So far this year, you've only spent $91.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
What are you looking at? What document are you looking at?
In the very front, there's a,
There's the spreadsheets from.
it's a spreadsheet,
look
and it
at that.
has 3 years of actual now. It looks a little bit like the spreadsheet you would have seen in the past, but I went and added 3 years of actual to the front side of it.
That is fantastic.
So it lets us know whether things are where they should be, if there's something that only happens every so many years. It's a great way to be able to see it.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
So,
You did a nice job.
Any kind of anomaly.
yeah, especially, I mean, something like foam in the fire department only needs to be bought every 3 years. So if you only look at 1 year, you look at last year and go, oh, we didn't need it last year, we didn't need it this year, well, all of a sudden that's your 3rd year. Now you have no history, where this with the 3 years plus the current. And it also gives you what's been spent through 1/1 is what I had done when I did these reports.
Good. Nice job.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. And if there's anything, any one of you, any type of additional information you need, please just send an email. I'm more than happy. And if you've got any suggestions as to how I can help quantify, please.
The other thing I have is that question I asked Ram. Is there some way that you could put more science into the question as to what your workload is? And I know it's not easy,
Yeah.
because it's not a matter of just the number of permits you issue, because some are more complex than others. It isn't just dollars alone either, because, you know, sometimes you spend a lot. I suspect that somebody like Walmart spent a lot of money on that building in just plain structure and so on, whereas Calamar will spend a lot of money on things like toilets and kitchens and, you know, and stuff like that. So it's not a simple matter, but going forward, it would certainly make it easier for me to understand that parameter. And
Well, maybe in a small way, to give you gentlemen an indication. We have another complete code change and update this year. All right,
Say again, please.
another code change, complete code change. We came into the 2018 State of Connecticut Building Code. That's based on model documents from 2015. So as these codes progress and increase, okay, it increases the workload on the front end for the plan review end of things, because certain documents have to be submitted in with an application, but also a plan. And one of those documents today is, before I can issue a CO, state statute requires the name of the concrete company that supplies our concrete and the name of the concrete installer, who that is, okay? And that has to come through in a very specific statutory manner. And if they don't submit it, they don't get what they need. We might have to chase for it. I also, the International Mechanical Code and the Energy Code require what's called blower door tests today. Bob learned about those last week.
Yeah.
And that is a manner of measuring the leakage of a structure, okay? Our insulation values have changed now. Piping insulation has come into play. So as these codes change, they don't change where they take codes away.
always make them easier, don't they?
Oh, boy. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
And please,
Thanks,
feel
Rand.
free.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay, Paul.
Sure. Well, thanks for taking the easy one first.
How hard can a library?
I don't want to be answering that.
You will.
Okay, I will. All right. Well,
Section that 5.
Yes, about, I don't have it written. The front page says libraries, it has both libraries on it, but a couple pages back there's actually a Broadbrook behind the warehouse point.
710,300.
What page do you want us looking at, Paul?
I don't know.
I think the library budget, the one that
I don't know what you have.
looks like this, Jason.
Okay.
Oh, that would be the budget,
It's the
yeah.
support for the $25,000 request that they're making.
Which in your presentation you called 20.
Wow, increase.
Oh, no, that's the increase that you could take away.
Oh, that's an increase.
I thought it was just
I
my increases here.
misunderstood how that, see?
Yeah?
There's some
400%, Paul.
information. That's information that didn't come across.
Ah.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, well, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this, whatever, I know how hard this is.
Got a lot of data there.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. You
Oh,
did a good
more.
job, a lot of detail.
Oh, no.
All those pages they got too.
They did?
Yes,
Okay, because there's a ton of other information
yep, they got all
on
those.
attendance, history, expenses, income.
I have to compliment you, that's more detail than I've seen, and that's really good.
We used
Knowing
to,
what-
we
knowing
used to
what your
get this on a
attendance is,
handwritten ledger.
I'm aware of that.
This is really good.
When Bev Prokowski gave up as treasurer, it only took me 4 months to get my hands on the checkbook and figure out how bad off we were. And that while we had workman's comp insurance for somebody who was being paid an illegal wage, we didn't have any property insurance. So you gotta be kidding. The things you find out the hard way. Anyhow,
The only thing I had trouble with is, what the hell are you looking for money? I didn't
Yeah.
see that anywhere.
really?
Yeah.
There's a totals up, the tippy top says 27070,
Yeah.
so that's what this totals. But he asked us for $25,000.
Where is
Where does it
that?
say that?
It doesn't on here, but what it does do it is on the library sheet, the top library sheet. It has their request, they got 5, they asked for 25, so it's going up 20 with
Forward a
this.
couple sheets?
Yeah. The library total page that has both Broadbrook and Warehouse Point on it.
There was no budget request format provided, which for years I've been looking for. I've never seen one, even though there used to be one. And there wasn't any. So
Maybe I'm not tipping it up.
I
that's
see.
all I know. So I provide what I provide the best way I know how.
Okay, I see it now.
But we did ask that same question when we met with him, because I have it circled on the top of my page.
There you go. But this was my budget. That is not a request specifically.
Right.
Request was separate. This is background material.
Yeah, I understand that.
But in any case, let me just give you the background real quick. Librarian does not get paid. She's volunteering, keeping track of her hours. Why? Because we don't have any money. We can't afford it. Our amount of money we have in our possession today is approximately $19,700. Okay? And there's a reason for that. Because if you happen to look at our history from 1954 forward, we have had quite a variety of town contributions, including 2 years of absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so that.
And we have had to bleed down whatever reserves we've had to survive, because at old Eversource, they want their money,
Yeah.
and the water company, and the
Yep.
sewer department. And, you know, everything you have no choice but to pay, you pay. And so we have used that. We also have purchased books. So we're using our resources, and we're down under $20,000 today, which means that we have a limited life, where we used to be in much better shape.
Is it dropping down all the time? Your financial reserve, is that dropping off all the time?
Well, I think to make that fairly clear, if you look at our income of $8,000 last year,
Yeah.
and our expenses of, let me see if that's the total, $15,112,
You got-
there's $7,000 right there. The town gave us 5, so we're automatically $2,000
Okay.
down.
No, the 8,000 includes the town's contribution.
I'm sorry?
The 8,000 includes the town's
Then
contribution.
you're right. Yeah, so we're down $7,000+. There you go. I mean, that's, what are we doing? We're doing what's necessary, okay? We're not closing the doors. There you go.
At that clip, though, you've got 3 years of life left.
Maybe. Not that that's the end of the story, but you're right. You've got to look at the way it is today. And by the way, that balance is as of today.
That you had one extraordinary expense, it was for taking those trees down?
Absolutely.
$6,300, whatever it was.
Which was double what the estimate was, but it turned out they were so tall.
Yeah.
Another contractor had to be brought in because they were 125 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it was just
I'm not-
impossible to get them.
I'm not surprised at that price,
But-
it's just that that's
They
extraordinary,
had to come
not a
down.
recurring cost.
We had, correct, but they had to come down.
Yep.
They were a hazard. One was dead, the other 7, pine trees just snapped. They go through the roof, you got a whole different problem.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
they had to go, and they
I
did
understand
go.
that. I
And so
understand.
that's what we did.
Yep.
We did what we had to do. We done a lot of things we had to do. I agree, that's an unusual or not a typical recurring cost. We also spent $2,000, which it's outlined in here as what we need to do, but that's already been spent for indos, which are inserts to give you weather protection and thermal protection without having to replace the original window.
So that it's 2 grant type inserts from the
That's what they are.
inside, from the
Yep.
inside.
Correct. $2,000, they're there.
You paid a down payment on that.
No, they're done.
They're done?
They're paid.
You had 2 entries, a down payment
Yep, that's correct.
and they're both paid?
And they're all paid. So that $2,000 is part of the expense as well. However, let me look carefully on this becomes one of those frustrating things. What day? Okay, we operate on a calendar year, you guys operate on a
Yeah.
fiscal year, that's the way life goes. Changing that is painful. So, can we do that? I don't know.
I think it's fine done that way.
I'm not going to, so, yeah, the deposit was there, you're correct, and then the final payment, they're both there, okay.
Yeah, they're both there. One
Okay.
was
I want to make sure.
So that you don't need the indos anymore.
Correct. Yep. Yep, but we have to look at, the reality of things is, the roof is gonna have to be redone down the road, we know that. Well, to me, the intelligent thing to do is allocate funds a little bit at a time, so when the time comes, it can be paid for. I don't think that a bag of money is gonna fall from the sky when we need a roof.
So I'm a pretty big supporter of the improvements that you folks have made over the, since you took over, really. I mean, I'm really happy to see the things that you've done. To be totally honest with you, though, for the town to pay for a roof on a building we don't own is problematic. Over time, we have had a pretty strict adherence to, we don't do capital improvements on property we don't own. The fire district property, the Warehouse Point Library, those are things that I would have a hard time with paying for a roof on somebody else's house.
How do you know with Warehouse Point,
How do we know what?
whether they're using town money or not?
Oh,
Look at
well,
the amount of money they're getting and how much they're spending. How do you know what money?
well,
they're
that, you raise a good point. Once you throw it into the bucket, it's all, yeah, that's a valid
I
point.
will also tell you that if you go back into minutes, town meeting minutes and all, the town replaced the heating system in the Broadbrook Library at one time.
Do you know when?
No.
Ish?
No.
80s,
Not that
90s?
No, oh, that's a good question. No, I do not, but I know it happened. So,
Paul, I have a question about the
Yeah.
roof.
Sure.
We had this discussion, I think, last year, but I just recently had a roof put on a fairly large garage. It's
Yeah.
40 by 70.
okay.
Jeff Starr did it for me.
Mhm.
And he put on a brand new, I think it was either a 30-year roof.
Okay.
Good shingle. That's like he sells. It was $11,000.
Mhm.
You've got like 16K in here.
Mhm.
What do you know that I don't know? You gotta strip you gotta replace the floor, the structure.
I will tell you right now, we have rafters
Yeah,
that are broken. So we have roof sag. There's a number of things that, it's been ignored.
so it's not a roofing job.
Well, it's
So
The
if you're
rafters
replacing
are,
structure, it's not a roofing job.
the rafters are gonna be worked on, okay? I've got somebody who's gonna help us out with that to make that safe. But still, could it need new decking? I don't know, it's an old roof, I don't know the answer.
Mm.
So I've got it. That's not a hard estimate from somebody, because.
And you're not asking for money for that specifically, I realize that.
No.
But it's a major number for
Sure.
your small budget, and.
It's more than one roof.
I just wanted to point out that I have a very fancy roof on this garage.
Understand.
It's got, 4 dormers on it,
Mhm.
and it's a big building. It's 14,000 square feet, 1,400 square feet on a single floor, on each floor, and it cost me $11K.
Mhm.
No structural damage, relatively new building.
Right, well, that's the thing, it's a relatively new building. I have unknown. So I'm gonna estimate where I have to estimate.
Do you think it's possible we could have Rand take a look at it and give his professional opinion? This is something that's 4 years away, we don't need to have this conversation. If it's 4th of July, then we do. We have to come to some solution if at all possible.
I don't know if you choose to do that, there's no problem on our end.
What is your actual, do you have a breakdown of what the budget request is? So I'm looking, this is an expense sheet, I think. The one that has the notes on the bottom?
Yep, that totals the 27,070.
I'm sorry, only the numbers above. There are things at the bottom that are listed that are not specifically in there unless, like the roof fund, obviously, would be the fund that. Okay? There are other items down below that we know there's additional cost, and we do not have that in our budget at this time.
Such as,
Recovering the floor, it's asbestos tile. It's got some damage. We don't want to take it out, that's just looking for trouble. Better you should cover it with maybe a floating floor or something, I don't know.
Mhm.
But, that's not in the budget, it's just, we know that's coming, it's gonna have to happen in some fashion. Repointing of the brick, because some of the paint's peeling, but that shows you have some issues. Well, masonry work costs money. It's not in our budget, although maybe we could say that we have a repair fund. We're thinking that maybe we should be putting money away for repairs. Is it adequate? I have no idea. Painting the same way. Replacing the lights. We have lights that are failing now. I don't want to put more fluorescent tubes in. I think it's a waste of
these are
money.
internal lights.
Yeah. Yep.
So you put LED lights in, is what you do?
If you replace them with LED lights, we're not going to save any money. Our electric bill is roughly $12 a month plus the $45
Yeah.
to steal from you because you have a meter.
Mhm.
But there's that. As a library, we'd like to be able to do some paid-for programs. We don't have any money for that, so, those are in there. We've had people ask us for passes to museums and things. Well, you don't get those by smiling, you buy them.
Mhm.
So that's, in there. Trying to put in the things that would help. We're not budgeting for snow and lawn services. We managed to get it done. It's still a project though. So when volunteers are doing stuff all the time, that can evaporate anytime it wants to.
Did you say the librarian doesn't get paid?
Right.
Currently, so everything we do is volunteer. Nobody gets a dime.
In here,
Yep.
it says 6614.
Yep.
Yeah, if they were paying her, that's what she would earn in a year.
But that's not 10 an hour.
Excuse me?
You're short like,
12 hours a week.
it says 15 a week.
Oh, well, you know what's happened over time? Yeah, well,
That's
our hours
12.7.
have changed.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, so there may be some minor errors in there.
And do you still not have internet either? We went through
No.
this and kind of went through, so I can
Nothing.
really tell you guys what's really being paid
Yeah,
for
there
right
you
now.
go.
So
Yeah.
the 6614 is currently not being paid, it's currently being volunteered.
Yeah.
But the 780 is being paid, the heat of 1800 is being paid, the 380 for the service contract is being paid, the telephone of 588. The internet is not, it's not connected yet. The water of 172, the sewer of 380, the insurance of 2500, the lawn service for 160, the book purchases, the other for 85, the calendars, cards, etc. for 140, the supplies for 125, the box, PO box rent for 54, and the postage for 180. Those are the things that are currently being paid for.
Okay, so these miscellaneous programs and event passes, they're not,
They're not being done right now, they're things they'd like to do, but they're not in the current expenditures.
so the list that you just read off, how much is that total?
I don't know, I didn't total it. Sorry.
Shame on you.
And I know you have a phone
Oh,
for
stop.
I'm still in flip phones.
No, we can get it later, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the point being is, to me, a budget is what you should be doing. That's what you put together for a budget. To fund the budget is a separate item,
Mhm.
in my mind. So that's how I look at it. So that's the goal. So yeah, there you go. Now, we have a possibility of having a contract with a fundraiser that would help us do fundraising projects and take 10% of the proceeds, which 90% of proceeds, pretty good deal.
That's a good deal.
If in fact you have proceeds. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Now, for
We don't have that deal today, it's on the table. It hasn't been agreed to.
you have to pay for it up front,
Not
and
me, I don't have
they
any
pay
money.
nothing.
I make it easy. I don't have any money, I don't pay anybody a dime.
Okay.
That's how easy this is,
Mhm.
okay? We don't have a problem with that, it's very simple. If the requirement is money up front, then it won't happen.
Okay. I'll ask a question I asked last year.
Yes.
Do you ever look at applying for grants? You know, it's a source of money. and-
Yeah.
And I have no idea whether something like the Berwick Library would qualify for any grants.
Neither do I. It's on the table. You gotta remember, everything's done by volunteers, so we have a problem.
Yeah,
How many hours can you put into something while you're
Yeah.
putting in all your hours into other things? There's a limit to everything,
yeah.
okay? And that is one of my issues. I need younger people,
Mhm.
but then again, there's a lot of that going around.
Everywhere you look.
Yes, we need younger people to participate that can take on projects.
Mhm.
Right now, I don't think we have anybody that can take on the project and try to do it,
Mhm.
even though researching it alone takes a lot of time. And there's only so many hours in a day.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like I'm not working. I don't have a choice, I have to work.
Mhm.
So it's not that simple, I wish it was. I like the idea, but, you know,
I have no idea whether the library would qualify, but it's worth a look-see.
yes, I agree, it is.
If you want, I'll take on the
I
responsibility
know you
for,
have nothing to do, I can tell.
for going out and seeing if there is grant money around for that
Okay.
kind of thing.
You're more than welcome to help the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll take a look and see whether
Yeah,
there is some agency in the state that could
anything's possible.
have money.
Yeah.
I think it's a possibility also.
I don't doubt it. I would think that would be wonderful.
And in our share, Hartford Foundation for Public Giving might be a place.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
They did
I did
about
some of that.
400,000 for another library.
Yeah, I did some of that for the Connecticut Land Trust.
They do some good stuff.
And we got some money on a recurring basis from them. Once you get in with them, it's a good deal because they will look at you every year or three. And if you're one of their favorites, like the Land Trust was, they gave them a lot of money. You know, the Land Trust would look to buy a 100-acre farm with the proviso that the person who lived on the farm continued to farm it, but could not develop it, you know, because the Land Trust then owned it.
Yeah.
And the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving loved the idea. and they gave that organization 100K, 180K 2 or 3 times while I was on that, in that group. So that's an area you could look at, and I could look at. I'll get back to you, you know.
That'd be fine.
I won't
No
promise
problem
I'll
with
do it
that. It's all
tomorrow,
good.
but I'll take a look.
Yeah, fine.
So it shows in the, on the Warehouse Point one, library, that they got a 400, not that this is a big one, $400 grant from the state of Connecticut.
Mhm.
So maybe.
I could even find out
Well,
where that
that's,
came from.
Yeah.
that's through like the Connect for letting other people borrow their library materials. So that one's, there's only one spot for that, so that's different,
Oh, okay,
that's different than something he
Got
can
it.
get, because they already get it.
okay. So, the other thought that I think is very important to get across here is, we have 2 libraries in Billings. They're both private. Very important that that's well understood. The town does not have a library. I'm not interested in this baloney that one year somebody decided Warehouse Point's a town library. It's not. It's a private organization. And roughly half their money comes from the town.
Mhm.
If half our money came from the town, we'd be in much better shape as it did. But consistently, it's been very poor and it keeps dropping. So this is a problem. Well, last year, I'm gonna say by happenstance, we got what we got. Because the budget passed the first go-round, almost by accident. That, to me, is fine. However, does the town wish to support the 2 libraries they have? And at what level? Now, Warehouse Point is getting more than $250,000 typically, and I'm not suggesting that we should get $250,000. I've always been a 10%er. We're 10% of the library, we should get 10% of the money. Now, that's a rounded number, and that's not an absolute, but I think the town should be helping to support the library, because the only people that use that library are people that live in town. That's what it's all about. We're not there for ourselves, because right now, nobody gets a nickel. We're all there to support residents of town.
Well, I guess a big percentage is also walk-ins. I never see any big crowds parked out back.
Cars come and go all the time. They don't have to be there all at once. But you're correct. There are people that walk to this library, and they will not go to Warehouse Point because it's not worth it to them.
Yep.
And there you go. They don't walk because they can't drive. They walk because they don't want to drive. They prefer to walk. They want the exercise. They want the experience. And when holiday weekends come around and Warehouse Point closes on a Saturday because Monday's a holiday, we don't. We've had people come from Enfield, from Summers, because we're the only library open on a Saturday on a holiday weekend. Well, people that get paid want their long weekend. People that don't get anything don't care. It's another day and they go to work. Son of a gun. So we're there. And we'll be there, even if the librarian does get paid. Because when somebody can't show up, I go there. The library will be open. We are open. We were open on Martin Luther King Day. Okay? Why? Gee, we have Martin Luther King books on the shelf. Maybe somebody wants one. I'm not going to predict it. I'm just going to be there. We're available. That's our job, to be available. And we can't be available without reasonable funding. That's what it's all about.
Well, I'm actually impressed with the attendance numbers you have. I didn't think there were that many people.
They're growing all the time.
That's very good.
Okay, I typically have 150 to 200 people seeing us on Facebook 3 days a week.
Really.
Because those are the days we're open. 3 days a week I post on Facebook to give something about today, always.
That's great.
Now, there's a lot of things I'd like to do if we had internet access. Maybe we could have email. If we had internet access, I might consider setting up a website. Tell people what new books are out there. Do something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't do it. I don't have any way to manage it, so I'm not doing it. I'm not doing any more I'm paying for it volunteer stuff. I can't afford it either. But I do think the town is gonna have to look carefully at what it funds and what is important to the town and what are the basics. Now, I've always had a feeling in my mind that you look at the priorities and you plug in the things that need to have funding of a given level and make that untouchable and screw with the rest of the budget. There never is a rest of the budget, so you can't do it. Everybody can justify what they want. But, you know, it's that type of thing. I'm gonna tell you, if you lose the library, it'll never come back.
No,
That's true.
no. You're absolutely right.
And I wouldn't wanna see that happen.
I would either.
We have a lot of things in there that you can't get anywhere else. They're there, they've been there for many, many years, and some of them are totally unique, and there they sit. They're available to people. They're not available anywhere else. That happens. You want to know what they are? You have to come to the library. I'm not telling anybody. You come in, we'll talk about it.
I have just two other questions.
Certainly.
And they're relatively insignificant. Systems consulting, what is
Yeah,
that?
that's me.
That's your book.
What happens is sometimes, because I have a business account on Amazon, I'm able to get things the library needs
Okay.
and provide them, and they reimburse me for that,
Okay.
at cost.
What advantage does belonging to the East Windsor Chamber of Commerce have for you? It's a small number, it's $125.
We've only paid once, ever. Doesn't mean we won't pay again. Okay. The thing is that all the chamber members are made aware of everything going on with the library.
Does that help?
Yes,
You sure?
yes,
Okay.
it does. We do have business people coming in. Also, everything we post on Facebook is automatically pushed out to the chamber. But then the chamber does that for all of their clients, but it's always a positive. And I think that's one of the things that's increased our Facebook views as much as I think Facebook is pretty much a piece of junk. Doesn't matter. If it reaches people, use it, because the price is right. That's what it's all about. That's the name of the game. By the way, it's not in here, I don't believe, but this is our 100th anniversary in June. The library will be 100 years old, and we will be promoting that. It's a little tough to do in this kind of weather, but we will be promoting it. I don't know exactly how. I guarantee you there'll be a banner on the building. That's all I know so far. But 100 years is a long time.
I know a young lady who could help you put some events together.
Parade, we need a parade.
Well, you never know. That's true.
Have you ever considered fundraising drives? The one we tried for the 250th was a disaster. I don't think we made enough money.
Mailing?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think we got enough money in to cover the mailings, frankly.
Yeah. Actually, the Broadbrook Library had a permit at one time and did mailings. And they got some money that way, but that was a long, long time ago. The world has changed.
Before I went to do that for the 250th anniversary committee, I talked to the East Windsor Ambulance Service. He claimed that for a mailing that cost him roughly $1,800, that he was getting between $12,000 and $18,000 in.
It could be.
And
Yeah.
well, you got to remember,
It's a different thing.
I would think that you got to remember the fact that probably that mailing had been put out for 20 years, and you eventually get people who will donate on a recurring basis.
I think there's more of an impetus to donate to the ambulance that you might need in the library.
That's
You've never
probably-
seen.
That's
Okay.
probably true too,
You have a 501c status?
Well, that's a bone of contention, so it depends on which auditor you talk to.
Well, the reason I ask is because the tax deduction might be an incentive in terms of the
Oh, I understand.
charitable giving.
Yep, that's true. this has been an ongoing thing. Some of our documentation is very hard to locate. If you go up on IRS's website, you won't find us. But do we have some of these things? Yeah. Well, let's see. The Secretary of State thinks we are. Auditors in the past have thought we were and said so in writing. There's a lot of things going on that indicate that we are, but I haven't found anything hard and fast. But one of my goals is to go to the Secretary of State and ask in their research, in their files, do you have a copy of that letter? Because when we filed with you, we probably provided it. I haven't found it. That's what I want.
If you haven't filed in a while, they might have discontinued you.
And I'd be more than willing to turn that around. And things can be turned around, but you gotta have a starting point on it.
Right.
That's frustrating to me. So as far as I'm concerned, we are.
But not in
You
terms
mentioned
of charitable tax deduction.
you mentioned auditors. Do you have an annual audit?
No, absolutely not. I can't with no money. There were in the past. I don't know if they were pro bono or what. I have no idea.
Okay.
All I know is we have audits on file. I do have them, some of them. So we were audited at one time. And I have no idea what's happened since then, and that's what happens with these organizations that go on year after year. You have the same secretary treasurer who does the same thing or doesn't. I do know when the Secretary of State went to online filing, our filings stopped. Gee, what a surprise. But we file on paper still, but you have to request permission each year. And if you request permission without paying and filing, they reject it. They don't explain that, but you can't request permission and then file. You have to request permission with your filing. We've been rejected before. But why don't you people explain what you want? We'll just do it. So, and I'm trying to catch up with all of these things because I'm the treasurer now as well as the president because somebody has to do it. Which is why you got the detail you did.
Thank you for the detail.
Because that's what I do. I do this for the Boy Scouts, I do it for the Cub Scouts. Same kind of stuff. Every transaction is listed somewhere, so it's traceable, blah, blah, blah. And
Who has check signing authority?
right now, only me, we're about to change that. No, I'm sorry, Beth Grant does as well.
Double sign? Do you guys double sign
No.
checks?
We do not, because we just don't spend enough money to make it work. All our checks are tiny. The only thing that goes out the door, well, see, when we have our trustee meetings, all this financial data is put out for everybody to see, including all the bank records. So everything that's going in and out, and the bank is my accounting system. It just makes it so much easier. They'll do it for free. All you gotta do is go into your bank account online and say, search these dates. Okay, show me all the transactions. There's the detail. Everything that went in, everything that went out, no question. And I'm adamant, I don't care if I got $3, it's going in the bank. That's how it works. We always put money in the bank, whatever we have. We get donations, we get a donation bucket and things like that. And we just, yeah, deposit everything, don't question it, because it's too much work not to do it. It's easier to do it. So anyhow, that's how that works, and I'm glad the detail helps, because I love that.
Thank you for your information.
No, thank you for listening.
Good job. Good.
If you name me everything you need.
Yeah. Okay. You saved the best for last.
Ah, there it is. I was in there somewhere. I'm in section 2.
Section 2,
I'm the third one down.
410500.
that's about halfway back.
12,500. Shortly after the town clerk.
Yeah.
So first selectman and then town clerk and then me.
you don't have any goals or priorities for this year.
I noticed that too.
Well,
Just
because the
gonna
ones
sit-
that
just
were
gonna
there,
sit- Just gonna sit there and do the same old thing, right?
I got plenty to do. So my budget was the last thing on my list, with everything else tied to budget. Did you find me?
Here we go.
So Bob and I have a difference of opinion about the position.
Yeah, you've been talking about that.
So, obviously, things I did already, I got the mailer done, we will do a mailer again this year for the budget. I'm looking at long-range planning for us. There hasn't been any of that. The start of this is kind of what you guys now have, where you're looking at some past years and then some future years. Eventually, it will be 15 years long, but it's starting with a place that we needed to have for us to be able to look. That $4,000 question was exactly the kind of questions I wanted this to help. Because if someone asks you for $4,000 every year and they're spending $1,000 every year, that's a great place for us to be looking.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at other places and saying, well, you can't have new staff, there's absolutely no way you can have new staff, but then there's other places that
Yep.
we're not really spending, then that's what this was intended for you guys to do. So these are the kind of things I will be doing, I just didn't know how to really put them into words. So overall, there's not a lot in my budget. The raise is me, effective 7/1, a 3% raise, which will be 15 months after I started. I'll get my first raise. The salary part-time is a little bit of a contention. I pay for 9.5 hours of a person that doesn't work for me. It's split with the tax office. I get an hour every 2 or 3 weeks. That's it. So I am paying for a body that doesn't work for the treasurer's office.
Works for the tax collector.
Works for the tax collector.
So why doesn't it just move over there?
Well, she did put in for the whole thing, but then that leaves me with nobody to help. So the position intended, I guess when it was originally swapped, there was a lot of changes in the tax office. At one point, apparently, we had half of the assistant tax collector, not even the part-time person, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's designed that that position's supposed to be working at the treasurer's office, but traditionally has never worked there.
Okay.
So, and it wasn't just in the person that's in the job now, I think it was in the person before that too. So
Are you
I don't know
therefore
how long-
asking for a part-time person?
Well, I don't want to give it up if I don't have to. But I would look at it differently. I would look for a high school kid or a college kid going to school for accounting, somebody who knows Excel, somebody that can help me put together a 15-year plan, somebody that can work on this stuff. Right now, this is all me. And none of this is coming off our software. This is all stuff that I've had to create. So it's me running reports off our software for each of those years and then keying them all in. So, so I'm looking for somebody who actually can do accounting, understands debits and credits, can work on Excel. So I'm looking for a kind of different skill set. I think lesser paid, so I don't know that that's the right number, but I didn't want to change what was there, but we do need to talk about how that's all going to work.
But it sounds like if the tax collector is going to also put in for that.
There's an
that
increase.
You're
Yep.
double booking.
Right.
Not a lot of money, but you're double booking.
Right, yep. And you'll see that in hers. She's not only putting in for my half, she's putting in to increase the hours too, which then makes the person benefit eligible for vacation, sick, personal, holidays, retirement,
What are they putting in for?
to increase the position from 19 hours a week, which our positions are typically part-time or 19 hours a week, so they get no benefits. They work whatever hours they work, and that's all they get. There's no holidays, there's no sick, other than what the state requires us to do. No vacation, no personal time, no holidays. And she's not only taken my 9.5 hours, she's then added other hours to it and increased it so that it's 21.5 hours a week. So then it makes them retirement eligible, personal, sick, vacation, holiday eligible. So she's not only taking my 9.5 hours, she's also adding hours to it.
This is Patty you're talking about.
In the tax collector, you'll see it in the tax collector budget. My budget is $8,430. Her increase is 10,000 and something. So she's not just taking my 8, she's taking my 8 and adding to it. So,
Where's the
So-
change in the overtime that you put in there?
Yeah.
all right, so my people work overtime, and right now they're comping it all. But there's a problem with that. Every time somebody's out of the office, somebody has to do the job. So they have no overtime, and traditionally, we've had no overtime here at all in any of the budgets, and you'll see it in several of the budgets now, because people are working hours, extra hours during audit, during W-2 time, 1099 time. There's certain times a year where you are gonna work extra hours, and it's not budgeted for. It's just comped.
But you lived with it as comp, why not continue to do that?
And we could, that's definitely, we could. I mean, I have not, that is not something, I had no part of this budget. I
Yeah.
literally got here in time to do the mailer and get the thing passed. But I haven't even been here a year yet. It was 10 months the other day. So that would not be the way I would do business. So I presented what I thought was a realistic, what we should be doing budget. Obviously, that's all up to you guys, what you guys choose to do with that. Longevity is contractual, that's what
Yeah.
our people are gonna get based on their contract. Professional services, I literally just listed out what we truly are paying for.
Where are the auditors covered under
Board of Finance,
Board of Finance?
Yep.
Okay.
and it's $39,000,
Okay.
and it's paid for by the Board of Finance. So supplies and equipment, travel, we're way under, our one person makes $450 just to go back and forth to the bank in a year.
One of the things that needs to be adjusted holistically in the budget proposal, the GSA rate just went up effective January 31st. It's 58 cents a mile now. I just got an email about it this morning.
Okay. I thought it was going down.
Yeah.
It went up.
That's so weird, because I thought it went down. I'll have to look into it. But you know what? I guess that would be one of the places I would look at trends and see if they really need to go up. If somebody's always putting in $2,000 and not spending $2,000, then there might be a spot where we don't need to adjust and we can cover that increase for the increase.
So the travel to the bank,
Yep,
that's how much?
that's 450 of it.
Okay, and what bank do you go to?
To Webster,
Where's Webster?
right at the corner of 140, right when you come off the highway.
Oh, it's Sophia's there?
Yep,
Okay,
that's across the street from Sophia's,
okay.
in that plaza across the street. So,
So somebody goes from here to there?
yep,
Okay, and back.
yep. And they're only weekly until we get really busy, or lots of cash.
Can't they take the car that's out here?
I guess we probably could. I don't know if it always works, but I know Joe's working on trying to come up with some other plan for that. He's looking at swapping cars around, so there's something more reliable here, because that one does not work.
There's a couple of them over in the town garage.
Yeah, he's working on something now, swapping cars with Park and Rec, I think. And then the other is conference travel. I don't know why we never had a budget for that. We had $50 in there.
I don't know how many people we sent to conferences.
Oh, well, anybody who has a professional designation has to go. Our town planner goes, our building official goes. I mean, we have a lot of people that go to conferences.
They need
Tax collector.
CEUs. They need
Right.
CEUs.
Yeah.
But you can get those and you can do them online.
Yeah,
You know, doing a webinar kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
kind of trending. It's not ideal, but.
and that's it for my budget.
I think I understand it. Thank you.
The payroll service,
Yeah, that's who processes and use Paylocity.
yeah, is that, are you familiar with them before this?
No,
Okay, and your thoughts about the way they work and their cost, is it comparable to your
it is.
experience?
It is. We did not use them in Canton. We did it all ourselves. But we also had a different person who paid the bills versus who paid the payroll. I had more bodies in Canton than I have here. There were three and a half of us.
Okay.
5 bodies, 3.5 positions. So I had more staff than I have now. But my payroll and my AP were not done by the same person. And it would be tremendously difficult for one person to do both.
Okay.
So, other than having a service do it. So she's checking everything and keying stuff in, but
Mhm.
that's different than being the ones doing it all, double
Yeah.
checking it all, printing the checks, stuffing the checks, or doing all the processing of it, so.
You know, going back just a personal inquiry, that the checks that are going to the bank, right? You say you go once a week during
Yep.
sometime, okay. Are those all the checks from the tax collector's office?
Well, a lot of the tax collector stuff is run through a processor, as long as it's working. They have a scanner
Yeah.
that zips them, so mostly it's cash, or that we're taking to the bank.
Is it?
We have a ton and ton of cash.
Really?
People come and pay. I think that sign that says, if it's delinquent, it has to be cash, is misleading to people. Because people who come and want their motor vehicle released so they can go register it, take that, and we have people that bring thousands of dollars of cash to pay their taxes. It's crazy. And the line at the tax office is crazy. The other day, there was a constant line out the tax collector's door.
Oh, because
I'm not sure why people don't stick them in the mail,
Yeah.
write a check and stick them in the mail.
Because of year end?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why they were there?
Yeah.
Yes, because it was the end of the month.
January 31st.
Their January installments needed to be paid. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they had a constant flow of people in there.
Is that when you get the cash?
Yes. Well, we get cash all the time, but we do cash runs every week.
Now, does Patty give you the cash to
Yes.
run? Okay.
My person's the only person who goes to the bank. Patty's, anybody's deposits for the whole town all come to the finance office.
That's the way it should be.
Should we look at, that concerns me with having an employee of the town. Not
We
that they're
have-
gonna run away with the money.
We have escorts,
You do?
yep,
Okay.
depending on the dollar amount.
The
They
police
meet us
come?
here, they meet us there, to
Okay,
make sure our body gets to the bank fully,
okay.
yes. There's a process in place for all of them,
Okay.
based on different levels.
Glad to hear that.
Can I ask you to, under education and dues,
Yeah.
can you do the alphabet soup game here and break down what these organizations are?
Okay,
GFOA I know, but others may not.
okay, Governance Finance Officers Association. So there's two different versions. There's a federal one and there's a state one.
What's the benefit to being a member of both?
Well, the national, you have to be the CPFO that GALIS. So I don't have to belong to national, and I don't. This is only her,
Okay.
because she's a certified financial professional certification?
So
Do you know
that's
what her
Gail.
certification
I don't
is?
know.
You're the state GFOA?
Yes. Well, actually, we all do state. It's
So-
like 65 bucks a person, and all three of us do state.
Okay.
You have to be a member to be able to go to anything.
CSCPA.
Connecticut State Society of CPAs. I have to belong
That-
because I
that's-
am a CPA. And I do it to get my credits. That's where I get my ethics credits from.
Yep.
And then
we
my
pay
CPA
your-
license is the
Yep.
state of Connecticut. The actual New England State GFOA conference is actually going to the regional, it's New England conference, and it's in the fall of every year.
And that's you or Gail?
That's me.
And is that something that is a must-do, or want to do, or like to do?
Well, I have to have 40 credits a year, so it depends how you want to pay for them. This is a cheaper way to get them because I get like 15 credits. If I go to GFOA, it's $250 for each 8-hour class I go to. So if I go to Connecticut Society for a government class, it's $250 for the day. So I can go and do 3 days and get 15 credits in the New England State one.
Got it.
And it also puts me in touch with all the rest of my peers that are all doing the same thing. And obviously here, I don't have a peer. It's not like there's another planner in my office. It's me. There's no one else doing my job other than me.
Got it.
And then the GFOA meetings are Connecticut meetings. We go if it makes sense. So like we've got one coming up and Gail and I are going because it's budget and payroll related. So it makes the most sense for the two of us to go. Other times, if it's more cash related, it might be me and Kim instead. So, but that's for all of us. Connecticut Public Pension, I'm the only one that goes.
And what is that one?
That's the people that oversee pensions in Connecticut. And we have a private pension, so it's where you're gonna learn about new GASBs, things changing, what things are. And then this is just to get whatever CPs we haven't gotten. So between our conferences and our classes, we might not have our 40 credits, and then we have to finish and go. So hers are more because she doesn't go to the New England one. She did this year, but she used this money to do that. So she used money she had in just CPE credits to go to, because it was actually hosted in Connecticut. And actually mine was free, because I was actually on the committee. I was on it when I was in Canton, and I just brought it here and allowed me to continue. But my class was free, my conference was free for me being on the committee and doing all the work for it.
Okay, so the 1,000 and the 500, that's to make up the difference between your 40 hours obligated per year and her 30 hours, I got it.
Right, and mine, I have my class, I have the conference in there, so mine's actually $1,100 if you took the $600 for the conference.
Yeah.
Plus this, mine's a little more.
I was trying to figure out, like, how could the assistants with fewer hours be twice as much money, but it's to make up the difference for the other things.
And
That
she
makes
doesn't
sense.
go to, like, public pension. She doesn't really do anything with pension, so it wouldn't make any sense for her to spend the day there.
Got it.
Because we are being paid to be there also, in addition to the $50 or $65 that the class costs us.
And the combined increase between personnel and department expense is,
I don't know, $12,000, looks like, 13,000?
you know, what that percentage is?
I did not, I should have. Did I not do it on mine, but I did it on everybody else's? I'll have to do it for you, sorry.
Not too complex.
No, there's not a lot of us.
Great.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you much.
And I don't know where on your agendas I'm gonna be, but somewhere insurance and pensions and all that other stuff need to be put there. I don't see them on any of your next coming budget workshops.
When do we start playing with the board?
What?
The actual budget run with any changes that we're going to make, when are we gonna do that?
I see what you mean, playing with the board. We need a board operator.
Well, we need to figure out, because right now you've got people scheduled all the way through the 19th. So
Right.
are you doing that? Do you have other budget intentions after that?
We have to.
Well, the other option is we do it as we go, which is kind of how we've done it sometimes in the past.
Which I could do. I mean, I don't mind. Obviously you have a Board of Selectmen approved column that has pre-filled numbers in there, but those.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that too.
It's just copied over from the previous column.
I
So
noticed
that
that.
anything that could be changed, if there's a number there versus putting nothing in there, and then have to copying over in front of everybody else.
The formula?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is, well, there'll be key numbers eventually, as you guys decide, yes, no, maybe. So, yeah, that's something that most certainly I could do. And we could do it with either the one that has the 3 years history or the one without it. It's up to you. In the past, you would have used the one without the 3 year history because it didn't exist, but
I would use the three.
I think it makes sense. I think it's a lot of, it gives you a lot of information right in one spot.
So do you want to start this tomorrow then?
Um,
Populating it?
Well, I would say no. But I would say tomorrow, let's decide. And what I'm thinking is,
Who's on tomorrow?
well, I want to take a look at what we have. And also, I don't know if it would be necessary for Amy to come every meeting. Maybe she could come every other meeting. We could do it every other meeting or something like that. And maybe there's longer meetings. Like if we have an hour before Thursday's Board of Selectmen meeting. I don't think.
That's not gonna be enough time to do really anything.
Yeah, so
Who do you have before you on that night?
again, I don't have that.
Oh, town clerk, tax, budget, and planning. Ooh, that's gonna be a tough one to do in an hour.
Town clerk, that's easy. Tax collector, that's easy.
Well, she's
Planning
planning
is-
for doubling, and planning's huge.
Oh, my goodness.
That's on that hour-long meeting.
That's on the hour-long meeting?
Mhm.
I gotta look at these. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You also don't have the ability to do that at Park Hill, do you?
That's true.
You
Well,
you can do it on a laptop.
Right.
So you can do it on
yeah,
laptops.
we could, it's nice if we had.
Tomorrow night's meeting in Park Hill.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's
Well,
registered
guys,
voters,
it's up.
American Heritage, Veterans, Cemetery, and Public Works.
That's at 6?
Yes.
Yeah, so we should do it. So that's Tuesday. How
That's
about Wednesday?
tomorrow.
Yes.
You don't have a Wednesday.
No, I have Wednesday. Okay.
The next one
Thursday.
after that is the Thursday.
Okay.
That's just the hour.
Yeah, so I'd say we should, and then we go into next week?
Then we're the 12th.
Yeah, and that's what day?
That's a Tuesday, and it's Park Hill.
Probably should do it in Park Hill on Tuesday.
And then the 19th is your last one,
We need another one.
which is short. That's on the front side of the board meeting here. And it has police and emergency management in your hour.
Oh, please, what, that's, oh,
Police are asking for a
That's
ton.
not, that's not gonna work out.
yeah, okay.
You know,
All right.
And
And we
also,
have-
when we're all done with these workshops and so forth, that I want to have a meeting to go over what is the final.
Yes.
Because last year, I was taken by sheer surprise when we didn't do that, and it went in, and that's not what I was thinking would happen. So we definitely have to do that.
Okay.
So the other things that aren't on here are your budget, CIP,
That's it.
insurance,
Yeah.
and activities and fees, town council. There's a lot of places not on these 5 agendas.
Do you plan to put CIP in each one of the organizations that are seeking CIP funding?
Well, I don't know,
Well, if that's the case, we need to do mine.
And we need to let
Mine's
CIP
on there.
know that that's the plan.
Mine is also for Munis.
She was asking tonight, who was it, asking tonight to have.
Kathy was asking when she was
meeting
coming.
For CIP meeting.
Right.
yes.
So we need to tuck this in there before we get to deciding on that.
So I'll tell you, the structure's a little different. What we used to do is, they just came and talked to us for 3 days. We set some version of general government up with police or public works and spread them out amongst, so the 3 big ones, the public works, the police, and the fire were on 3 different days. Everybody else was split in between them, and we went for 3 days, and we did from 6 to 10, and all we did was talk everybody's budget. We didn't make changes, we asked questions, we didn't make changes, we didn't start, and then we had like 4 workshops where that's all we did. We went back to the start and said, okay, what do we want to talk about in here, what things we like, what things we don't like, if there needed to be more information gotten, my
I think
task
that's
was
the
to
right
go
way
get
to do it.
information. So there's almost like 2 steps. One is let the people come talk, but I don't know that we've structured them in the greatest way, the way we've structured it, and we structured them all the way to the end of February just about. Our last one is the 19th before your meeting, so 2 of them are very short, they're just an hour long.
Mhm.
So we really only have this one and tomorrow's as regular, and then the 12th are the ones that are regular sized meetings that you could go for a couple hours. The other ones are just an hour long before the front side of your meetings. So,
Yeah.
I think it was evident from tonight, even the simple ones like the public library, it ran an hour. Now, Paul likes to talk, but still in all, you
and had
know,
good information too, I think.
but he had a lot of information
So,
that he wanted to have us have.
yeah.
Well, it's got to be balanced out then. To me, what you said we had it structured there, it was really the right way to do that.
I think we're gonna have to add some more days.
Yep.
That would be my thought.
Well, the selectmen's meeting, why can't we change that agenda, just touch on whatever needs to be addressed at that meeting?
Oh, and then
work
put the
on-
budget on it.
Yeah.
You most certainly could.
That's what we used to do.
But then
work
it,
on
then it
that.
wouldn't be presentation so much as you guys going through and where you want to talk about what you want to look at
Why?
for presentations?
Well, it's a public meeting.
Yeah, I guess you're kidding. I'm just thinking of staffing, people coming before you. If you're going to do other business and then get to the budget. He's looking for time to talk about things versus just talking to people about what they're looking for.
I don't see why we always used to do it. For the previous years I was involved in this, that was always done. We'd use regular meetings time to do it.
Okay.
You know, there's things that we can push off to another time.
You guys always seem to have a list
I know.
of things that need to get to your guys' attention and not on this week.
Well, I'm not sure what you're saying. You're saying meetings, are you saying?
He's saying in the regular meeting, do
Regular
a budget
meeting?
portion,
Do some budget in the regular meeting.
right, so do your regular things that have to be done for your agenda, but then after that, do budget.
Do you mean like just the worksheet, or do you want to have people come?
Well, it sounded like in the past it was people came.
Yes.
Really?
I've only been involved in Board of Selectmen meetings where they did budget discussions and like the worksheet and looking at where they are, what the budget looks like. And I have not been where part of a budget meeting, part of a regular meeting was people presenting.
I don't understand what the difference is between people presenting on the American Heritage River and people presenting on the planning department.
not.
It's the same thing.
All right.
Money for comp time.
But we're gonna be paying comp time for them on a Monday is just as well as we're gonna be on a Thursday.
But you got it. Okay. You guys have to talk about.
Well, we are having budget meetings for an hour before the regular Board of Selectmen meeting starts.
The only point I was making, Bob, is that it just seemed, even with the more simple ones, we're taking the better part of an hour.
Right, so but I don't know, that's true.
You may only get
just
one.
stated a fact, but why do you say that?
So then you only might get one person, so. if
You only get one organization in before.
Right.
So you
I
have
agree
three
with
right,
that too.
so you have three
So-
right now on Thursdays. So if
Yeah.
you don't get
Yeah.
to them before your meeting starts,
Right,
you could have them on your agenda in your regular meeting.
okay. All right, now I understand, all right.
Right.
But we'd have to have something start at 6,
Right.
and then if they don't finish, then.
Those people then have to wait until you get to them on the agenda in
Yeah.
the regular
All right,
meeting.
all right.
Yes.
So that means they're gonna be waiting until
Well,
after
no,
9 o'clock.
no, I think we could, I don't see why we can't put them at the beginning of the agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The other thing we need to do is stay on budget topic. That's why things like Paul take an hour is because we go off. Rand was the same way. If we stick to what the actual budget presentation is, that goes quicker. There's just fewer questions to ask.
I didn't think we went off too much.
What was that view permit thing? That wasn't even a budget presentation item. He didn't have it in his budget, so we
Well, he
spent
didn't have it in his
15
budget,
minutes on
but
that.
he had a new clerical person in his budget.
Mhm.
And I want to know the clerical person was going to do view permit. If she was going to be in charge of view permit, that would make my decision to hire her more advantageous than if she is not. We need a person to do view permit.
Okay, so in that case, that was one question, but we spent 10 minutes on it. And the question could have been, are they going to be working on view permit? Yes, no, okay, move on. I'm just saying, if you guys are concerned about time allocation, we dance, we go on and we go down a rabbit hole.
It's hard when you do a budget, and it's the only time you're gonna see these people.
Well, that's the other side of the argument. There's a value to that too.
So I guess you guys have to tell me what you want me at.
Yeah, I think that's what we got to
Every one
decide.
of them.
I think we want you.
I thought I was gonna be in every one of them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then he told me today, oh no, you couldn't come tonight for
No,
yours.
no.
And I'm like, okay.
No, I think you should come to every one of them.
And I,
Everyone knows anything.
that's true. I agree with that. That's true.
So I guess the answer is probably on CIP, probably not. It's probably the CIP group that's gonna do it, because it looks like Kathy's intending to come for CIP. So it wouldn't it be individually, really?
Yeah, wouldn't they come, the individuals that are requesting it as well?
Well, they already did all that to the CIP group. And that was kind of the whole reason the CIP group was formed, right? Was to streamline the process. I don't know, I don't know the history
I
on
just
it.
know that when we asked questions on it, they didn't have many answers.
CIP didn't have a lot of answers?
No, because it's like hearsay. It's like the police go and talk to them, they make up the budget, and then if they come to talk to us, they don't have answers to the things we're gonna like. But I'd like to ask the police, I'd like to know how many vehicles they have, period. I've never got an answer to that. And I'd like to know the plate numbers of those vehicles.
We should have it. We should have it in our, the information we provide to Karma.
But
You
I'd
should
like
have a
to-
vehicle list.
But I would like to know by vehicle, what's the maintenance record on that, on each vehicle for 3 years? We keep on buying 2.5 vehicles per year. I think that's a big number, personally. I see no reason for junking a 7 or 8-year-old vehicle if it's running fine and the maintenance records show that it is costing no more today than it was 3 or 4 years ago. That's personal opinion. I also would like to know, since my...
Okay, but CIP just hears the thing that they want 2.5 vehicles. So if you guys have questions about their CIP request, I think that's fair game for you guys to ask.
Yeah, but...
Well,
let me
they're
just
here,
say-
and have them follow up with
Yeah,
that.
but let me say, I went to CIP meetings because a year or so ago, Sarah Muska said I should really go to those, and I wasn't going because I figured I'd be disruptive, because I asked questions, well, and I was brand spanking new with the job. So I explained to her that I didn't go for that very reason. So this year I went. She recommended I go, and I went. I couldn't ask any questions. That's ruled out. Kathy said, you can't ask questions.
Yeah.
So I said, can I submit it to you in writing?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. I submitted it to her in writing, and 2 weeks later, I got no answer, so I went to her after the next meeting I went to and said, Kathy, I haven't got any answers. She said, Andy, I don't have the resources to do it. You'll never get answers to the questions, so I stopped writing questions.
Well,
Now,
I would write those questions down for yourself and ask the department heads as they're here.
that's my point.
Yeah.
So now, at this point in time, what I have as a recourse, as I see it, is when someone comes to me and says they want 2.5 vehicles, I want to know what their maintenance records are, so I can say, I don't think you need 2.5 vehicles.
Yep.
I'd
say you're fair
And the
game to
meeting that
ask
we
the
had the other
department here.
day in Bob's office, or, I asked the question, have you considered using drones?
Yeah.
The world's using drones. They're, at the Super Bowl, I think, they actually flew drones around the area instead of having police cars around the area. That must have decreased the amount of people on the,
In numbers.
feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And you got, I'm gonna say it, a bunch of kids sitting in some room playing with, an electronic gadget.
Oh.
We have, they had an article on 60 Minutes 3 years ago. They showed young people, kids in the military, so young people in the military, flying drones over Afghanistan. They showed a drone that had been up for something like 3 days, very expensive drone, millions of dollars probably, taking out some Taliban chief after he had been haunting him for a couple of days. They knew he was in the house. When he came out, his car disappeared. So the drones are new technology, and when we met in Bob's office, I said to the chief and deputy, what about considering that and not buying? I looked it up. You can buy a damn good drone for $30,000. A damn good drone for $30,000. That's less than a good police car.
I know, but don't you still have to have a body to operate it?
You have to have somebody in a control room who will fly that. By the way, there are people in the military who fly more than one drone. A drone can be set, to fly over a parking lot like Walmart.
Mhm.
And when an incident occurs, you can take over control of that and put another one on a circle path someplace. So it doesn't require 1 for 1, as I know.
Okay. The one I know is my son's,
Yeah,
and he has to be within sight
yeah,
to be able to see.
absolutely.
He
Yeah.
can still see it on his phone and do things through his
Yep.
phone, but he still has to be within sight of it.
The
He can't just
problem
let it
with-
go.
The problem with the drones I looked up is they don't have a lot of dwell time.
Yeah,
The military drones have dwell time.
Yeah.
They can fly several days.
yeah.
These fly for hours, they fly for 30 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And they cost $10,000,
Mhm.
up to like $30,000 for the most sophisticated one I could find, which is, one is called a security drone for policing.
Mhm.
So it's probably a pretty decent machine at a lesser cost and less people on the ground, you know, in a parking lot and stuff like that, going around looking. The drones can do strange things. They can catch a license plate a hell of a lot better than you and I chasing some guy down the road trying to get a license plate. They can get a photograph, you know, instantly, and you start to process that car. Well, you know, so much
But Amy,
to talk.
we had a tough time last year, and it was my first time as well, and, you know, I went to the CIP meetings, and they had, Public Works submitted a list of, you know, their vehicles, and these were gonna get replaced, and they're on some schedule, but I couldn't understand what the schedule was, but, you know, with equipment, loaders and those kinds of things, it's not miles, it's hours, engine hours, that, you know, and none of that information was in the report. And I asked, you know, we could get that, and I was told, it's not necessary, you don't know anything about it. So, you know, that was that. And then when the police came with their budget to give their presentation, they didn't even bring a copy of the budget with them. And they asked me to turn my book around so they could read what was in there.
So how about this for kind of a way to wrap this conversation up? Why don't we ask each of the departments as they came in what their CIP request was, and then at the end of the whole process, ask the CIP what their recommendations were.
We got their recommendations. They gave it, I went to a bunch of their meetings, and they had...
Is that in here?
No,
Yes,
I have it,
they're
I have it in my
listed.
book,
No,
but
but in here there is. Under the CIP tab, there is a group, it's a set of colored sheets.
And that's great.
So it's the letter that they sent to Bob.
is that section one?
I think it's in 7. My book has a lot more things in it than your guys does. Yeah,
It is.
in 7, at the end, they have, it's blue and green.
Oh, yeah, that's
So,
great.
so this is the whole list of everything asked for and everything funded. So the project request is the first green after the blue. So people requested,
I think it goes up through 9, it's 9 is what.
9 is
so
what
people
they...
requested $2.7 million of projects. Goes through 27. Item number 27 was Parks and Rec, Reservoir Basketball Court expansion. And the total that they're recommending to you guys is 1507405. So you will see on those last couple pages, a lot of it's not funded. But so there's two pieces.
The only thing that they're asking to be funded is down through 9, is that not correct?
No, they're asking all the way to the end.
To where?
Because-
But I think,
Because
what's
there's-
this, oh, subtotal of annual projects?
Yeah,
No.
so the annual stuff
That's
is
their budget.
recurring.
No, I don't think so.
No, because my stuff's down below that. And I got funded.
I think you're right, I think they said at one point that these were the.
So the ones on the top, the first page and the top of the second page are the ones that they feel are have to. We are doing police vehicles, we are doing public works chip sealing, we are doing pavement management, we're doing police next gen, and we're doing public works vehicles. And then it goes
But
down,
that was like $600,000 increase over last year's.
yes.
So we have to do $600,000 more than last year?
No, but those are the must-haves, equals $1,027,000.
Oh, okay.
So they come to a total on page 3. And then they go on to do some Board of Ed kitchen stuff, Broadbrook Fire for starting the funding of the fire truck, town property for generator replacements for the PD and the radio tower, vehicle computers got funded, my Munis software has a placeholder in there, town property has some money, public works and town property.
But Amy, if you take a look at it, they have a rating system.
Yep, I know.
And if you look at the Broward Fire Department, it has an 1,860
Yep.
rating. It's higher than, I think, about everything above it. And, well, there's one at 92, no, that's wrong. Police, vehicles are 2,100. No, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a very high rating.
Right,
By
and that's why it got
comparison.
funded.
But that's not funded.
Yeah, they funded 100,000. That's funded, it's in the blue. Right next to your finger, $100,000 is the funding.
Yeah, now I'm seeing the blue.
So it's the blue column that has the actual funding that totals that 1507405, which is the number that's in my sheets.
All right.
So there are things below, the 1,027,000 are the things they feel are the annual have to do. The things below that for another $500,000 are many different things, many different places, with a total of 1507405.
So their recommendation is a 1,507, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
and our people asked for 2.7 million. So those will go by department, you'll be able to tell which, any ones you want to ask questions on.
Okay.
And you do have the whole CIP book.
Yeah.
That had all the
I
detail
have
behind
that.
it all.
I have that. So, my fallback position then was that if I couldn't ask questions, and if she didn't have the resources to answer my written questions, then I would ask the department heads when they came in, questions about CIP issues, because I probably sat in on 2/3 of the CIPs. I stopped going near the end because all they were doing is rating things, and they had already gone through
All the presentations.
all the presentations. And I had, in the one meeting I went to where they were rating, I understood the methodology, so I stopped going. But in the question and answer sessions, there were no questions asked. Just take the police vehicles, and I'm not dwelling on that, but they came in, they said they needed 2.5 vehicles. It's a standard request, and it's kind of a standard approval.
It's a standard request that's typically not approved.
Huh?
They were supposed to be on a 2-3 replacement schedule.
Yes.
They've never been. Every year they put it in, it gets bastardized every time the budget goes through the process.
What does it normally turn out to be?
One or none.
One or none, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
there have been a couple of years where they've had a few more than that, but they always ask for 2-3 on a rotation, and it's always one of the first things that
Okay,
gets
I didn't know that, Jason. Because I'm thinking that, Jesus, in a department like we have, one should be
Well, you
adequate.
need to find that vehicle roster that we give to Kerma. We have to provide them a vehicle roster with replacement costs. That would be very helpful to be part of this book.
Okay.
Your staff provides it to Kerma, but it's a vehicle roster. Have mileage in all the cars, it will have all the cars, all the years, it will have everything on it.
Really? Huh.
Yep.
How come the chip is in here for 75,000 when that is a
It's kind of
revolving?
weird.
Is that?
It's from LoSiP. They use LoSiP money to cover that. So we get
LoSiP
the
is a
money-
grant, it stands for Local Capital Improvement, it's used for infrastructure upgrades
So
and maintenance.
why is it in here though?
Because
Because
it
it revolves,
needs to
right?
be, well, no,
To
it
get it
needs
back.
to be part of your capital improvement for LoSiP to approve it. So you have to have it in here, in your CIP.
Even though the money will come back.
Right. But it still has to be here, because if it's not in your local CIP, you can't ask for the money
Got
back
it.
from
It's a
the
reimbursement.
state.
They need to show the expenditure.
Yeah.
So it has to be in your approved CIP expenditures.
Got it.
So there are some special cases like that where you want to put it in,
Right,
even though we don't fund it. You want to make sure it's there.
right. Yep,
See, I didn't even know that.
yes.
You know,
So we good?
those are really-
Yeah, are we good? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So I don't know if you guys have an interest, and I don't know how much of revenue is your responsibility, but I did do the same thing with the 3-year trends of revenue.
I would love to see that.
You want it?
You have it?
Yep. It's not great, but it's at least what it is. It's the fact as it goes. The other thing I put together that Bob's not gonna like is I put together all the new positions and increases.
No, why is that not gonna like it?
Because mine starts with tax collector instead of treasurer.
I'm gonna shut off this recording.
These are in